Good morning. Good morning. Much better. Welcome to Windows. And on a Friday morning, on a beautiful fall morning, it's great to have you here. And we are privileged to have with us this morning Kim Montroll, who has been with us for several days as part of our Missions Forum. I will briefly introduce her and give her the floor, and look forward to a wonderful time of engagement with her this morning. Two quick housekeeping items. We'll connect what we're talking about today and this week with a Haiti trip opportunity, missions trip opportunity for students later in the semester. And I believe Andy has somewhere within almost arm's reach here this morning applications, but do be thinking about the opportunity for a missions trip to Haiti and other trips during spring break. Also today, like we often do, there will be a Windows luncheon immediately or soon following Windows this morning. So if you're a student and have a meal plan and would like to attend, simply go through the dining commons as you normally do, but bring your lunch to Baird Library. If you are a guest or simply don't have a meal plan, simply give your name to the person at the entrance to the dining commons. You don't need to pay, and then just bring your lunch to Baird Library, which is very close by the dining commons entrance. And we would love to have you there. Our intent is to, like this morning, the luncheon is very informal, so if you need to come late or leave early and can only be there for a bit of time, no worries. It's simply a time literally to sit around the kitchen table and have some extended conversation with our speaker and around the topics and questions of today. A brief introduction. Kim Montroll serves with Beyond Borders, which works in Haiti to build movements to end child servitude and guarantee access to education and prevent violence against women and girls. She's a teacher in the Servant Leadership School who leads retreats and workshops around the country with congregations and groups seeking to become repairers of the breach in a world of extreme economic divides. She is passionate about intentional local faith community and fosters connectiveness with the human family, especially in Haiti. Kim, it's a pleasure to have you here.
I feel short behind here. Thank you for coming. I want to start with the words of Micah, but before I begin at all, I want to say what we're talking about today. I just sense it's a conversation that goes on a lot on this campus, and so I don't know that I'm going to necessarily say anything new that you haven't heard or thought about, but I know for me the space always for action and reflection helps me continually open my eyes in a new way and see things in a new way. So I'm hoping this time will be that. Maybe we can just take a deep breath and be here in the midst of the busyness of the day and just have a little moment of silence to center ourselves. Amen. These are the words of Micah that are so familiar to all of us and that I want to guide our time together. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. I want to spend our time today exploring and questioning and challenging. How do we live this out? How do we hold together in a healthy, balanced way, acting justly and loving mercy, humility? And how do we step back in a reality of the world as it is now in this particular time in history to look at what we do, our acts of mercy, and question, are these acts of mercy having the results, the impact and the consequences that we desire? So asking ourselves for all our actions, large and small, quiet and robust, are they having the intended consequences, or are they having some unintended consequences that is in a way like when this screen went up here, it reveals another curtain behind it. and we get to see what does that curtain look like. And if that curtain were opened up, there'd be something else behind it too. So I'm hoping this is a chance to keep pulling back curtains for us to see what is it we might not have seen before in actions that we do. And I think this is especially important in this time in history because what we do doesn't just affect us in our own communities, but it's such a time of global connectedness. So many economic systems, and the way our spiritual lives connect everywhere with mission trips, that the impact in an action we feel is a small one could have a consequence somewhere else for people that we've never met. I've been with Beyond Borders, connected since the mid-90s, and Beyond Borders grew out of EAPE and is part of the network of EAPE ministries. And the way we've been challenged over years and years is to keep asking ourselves the question, with our work in Haiti, which has been around supporting development of rural education, ending the system of child slavery, the Restobec system, ending the actions of violence against women and girls. We have to keep reassessing and be good self-critics and say, is what we're doing having the intended effect? And over the last few years, we've realized that it hasn't. It hasn't. And it's hard to say that within an organization. And we've realized is some of the things we did were not leading to strengthening of the rural communities we were working in, but were leading sometimes to a dismantling of the strengths that were in those communities. So one example of that would be, for many years we were a part of supporting teacher training. And our Haitian colleagues in Lumiere La Vie, our sister organization, would work with a particular school that desired to increase the teacher's capacity. In Haiti, there are the law requires that a teacher reach the grade level of the class they're teaching. So a first grade teacher is required to have finished first grade. So a lot of teachers have really hungered for more training. So in our experience, we were connecting with schools and teachers and realizing that the goodness of helping one school in a rural community become very strong had an unintended consequence of more families moving towards that school and other schools in the area, in fact, becoming weaker. And therefore, our intended goal that all children in a rural community would have access to school, that their parents wouldn't feel desperate to send them to an urban area in order to get an education, that we're in fact, in some way, reinforcing the very things that we are trying to dismantle. And so with long discernment with our Haitian staff, we said, instead of trying to strengthen one school, let's work with a network of schools. And so that's what our work shifted to now. And it means our own relearning. And it's longer and it's much messier. And it's harder to see the immediate results. What we do know now in working in 9 and soon 12 rural communities is that stepping back that is slower and more messy has led to a connecting of schools that normally, some church schools, some community schools, some public schools, school directors that had never sat together in a room and never sat together in a circle are finding a shared desire to commit that every child in their area within 3 or 4 hours walk would have a chance to go to school. And what that means is that community, the families, the very poorest families in that community, do not need to send their children away. And so we're still learning how to do this. But this has been the largest change for us. How do we support system and movements and helping support Haitians connecting in these networks so that what we do fulfills the desire of what our aim is, which is for children to have lives that are full of opportunity to become who God created them to be. So I want to step back for a second and ask you here, if anyone could just give some examples. You could stand up and speak in a loud voice. We're talking today between the difference between charity and justice. And I wondered if someone could stand up and don't think too much, but just your immediate response. What is the difference between charity and justice? So anybody just stand up, could speak in a nice loud voice and say your name to start with. Be brave. Yeah.
My name is Nancy, and I would say it has something to do with the difference between writing a check and living with
Okay.
the people that you're ministering.
Okay. Anybody else? The difference between charity and justice.
My name is Randy, and I would say that justice has more to do with getting what you deserve, whereas charity may not be that.
Okay.
My name is Becky. I would say that charity has more to do with filling a temporary need, while justice has more to do with working with fulfilling a long-time necessary goal to end something or start something.
Okay. Anyone else? What's the distinction for you? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lita. I think that charity is done out of the pity of man, but I think justice is done because of the convictions of God.
All right. One more. What you see is the difference between charity and justice.
I sometimes think charity is more about me and justice is more about them.
Okay. I wondered if anyone would be willing to give first an example of an act of charity that you've done that was very meaningful to you, that felt life-giving. Anybody just stand, just a short example. An act of charity you've done at any time in your life that had deep meaning for you.
My senior year in high school, I went on a mini mission trip to our church. It was a very interesting week, very fulfilling.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? An act of charity that you've done that has given you deep meaning. Yeah.
My choir used to go in high school to nursing homes and sing and kind of hang out with those in nursing homes.
Beautiful. Thank you. One more, an act of charity that you've done that, again, that has stuck with you. Just think of one. All right. All right. Now my next question is, a time when you've felt you've been involved in something related to justice. What has that been? And I noticed in the cafeteria getting the coffee that it was really clear on the sign that that coffee involves some probably fair trade, but there's some requirements, and there's probably a reason why that coffee company is in your cafeteria. So that was an example to me of this school. But I wanted to hear anyone where you've been involved in something related to justice. Anything.
I spent a week-long internship in Atlanta and worked alongside this lady who was helping single mothers in the homeless community.
All right. All right. Anyone else? One experience with justice.
I worked in Palestine for 2 months listening to the voice of the Palestinians.
All right. more. One more action that has connected you with a sense of justice. Yes?
I took a missions trip to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
We went into the Montroll villages and had seminars that have been ongoing. I got to be part of for women who were abused.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the images that I find really helpful in thinking about what's the difference between charity and justice is an image that comes from my good friend Kent Annan. I know he's spoken here before, and he's one of the gems of the world, and really, through his books, has really caused those of us who are his fans to ask a lot of questions. And one image that he shared in an article once, the difference between charity and justice is if you imagine sitting by the bank of a river, and you look up from sitting where you are, and you notice that there are people floating down that river who are struggling and nearly drowning. And it's your immediate desire to jump in that river and help pull people out. And then you go back the next day and you look up. There are more people coming down that river who are struggling, and they're nearly drowning, and you go in and you pull them out. You do that day after day. And one day you start to wonder, what is going on up the river? What is going on up the river that is causing people to be flowing down day after day and nearly drowning? And then when you go up the river, you start to discover something is happening, some system, some place of injustice that is causing this to happen over and over again. And so I think some of us are called more to being by that riverbank and supporting people who are drowning. And some of us are called more to go up, farther up the river and discover what is causing this. And beneath what's causing it, what's below that and what's below that. And some of us are more drawn to that. But I feel like our deeper call as followers of Jesus is to somehow not live on either extreme. And I've always been more of a person drawn to the immediate, drawn to a person struggling and hurting and trying to be a presence to them. And I just slowly realized and been challenged by people who care about me to step back and discover what's going on up the river. And I think my time in Haiti, I think sometimes when we move into a situation that's less familiar to us, it creates a wakening up. But you don't have to go to Haiti. You can look in a community in DC or Philadelphia or close by, down our own street, and start to question, when do our actions in helping people get out of the river, when might those actions reinforce and help hold strong what's going on up the river? When might that be? And how do we somehow grow aware of both? And so one example I'll use from Haiti is over many years, Haitians produced a great deal of rice, and they were secure in producing enough rice to eat. And then in the mid-'80s, there was a decision, a US policy, that increased the rice subsidies for Arkansas rice farmers. And this was under President Clinton's administration. And with that policy, with the increase of rice subsidies, there was a great export from the US and import to Haiti of rice that was much cheaper than the rice grown in Haiti. So what happened with that? In a way, you'd think, well, more food products going into a country could be a great thing. Perhaps more people have access to food. The unintended consequence of that action was that the Haitian rice market was undercut. So then what was the next curtain pulled behind after that? The next curtain after that was rice farmers in rural areas then couldn't continue to produce on their land. The next curtain was they couldn't continue to keep their land. So there's a flood of people into Port-au-Prince. Then what happens to the next layer of that, which is their children's chance to have an education, a safe place to live? And so this is sort of a large scale. This is kind of a large scale. What happens when an action has a seemingly positive intent with unintended consequences? Then you look at right after the earthquake in Haiti, there was just profound need for food immediately. And so great, huge organizations, small organizations, churches, got food into Haiti quickly in response to a profound emergency. Now it's almost 2 years later, and that was important, and it was literally saving people's lives. And now it's nearly 2 years later, and I was interested to read on, I love reading Google News and trying to really understand how different groups are connecting with Haiti. And I saw a beautiful posting on Google News about Haiti that a church, and I don't remember where it is putting together, people are very excited, to put together something like 100,000 meals from food purchased in their community to prepare it and send it to Haiti. And you just know the beautiful intent and the beautiful action that is, and the spirit of just picturing a group of people together, creating that and sending it, and how beautiful that is. And then you step back and you pull that curtain back a little bit, and you say, well, what is happening if food is purchased in the US in a city? It's good for the businesses in that area, which is important, but then it's sent to Haiti. What is the unintended consequence of that food coming in? Who might be affected by that action? So that would be a question. If it's sent to a rural area, 100,000 food packets, what is the unintended consequence of that if you would just be creative and try to imagine, what would you guess would be some of the unintended consequences? Just any ideas?
It hurts the local economy.
In what way?
Those who sell food would obviously hurt, or even trade.
Mm-hmm. Who would you guess sell food? Who do you think those people might be?
Farmers, I guess.
So farmers? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else? Who might be impacted by that? The unintended consequence of a really beautiful act of charity.
I was going to say even the health of the people receiving the food, whether it would cause damage to them if they're not accustomed to processed food, that we're buying stuff that can be preserved to be sent.
Yep.
And they're used to eating healthy vegetables from the field.
It's a good point.
This morning.
So a physical health might be an unintended consequence.